Well, I was gonna continue our conversation that we started. Already a part one and part two. Already, might as well welcome everybody to the show. You already know who it is. King of Comebacks, 2Ks. This is Creating Greatness Podcast. Here with my main man, Anthony J. Spencer. And what we were going to do today was just continue the conversation that we've been having. Part one and part two, Does God Exist, have performed very well. So I thank all y'all out there who tuned in. And I guess not veering too far from the conversation is that the whole premise of that was that Tony felt like a hypocrite to be coming on to the show regularly, speaking about the Bible, praising Jesus. It was me and my mom just went back to that amazing prayer that you did a few episodes ago, and it got sent around quite a bit. It meant a lot to a lot of folks, but I appreciate and I commend the strength and courage to come back on and be vulnerable and speak about your doubts. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. So while maybe we don't go too far back into that, although there's so much more there, and I'm sure we will get to it at some point, I don't want to be a hypocrite either for different reasons. And I come on this show 3 times a week now, and I thank you guys for making that possible, because if no one was tuning in, it wouldn't be possible. But I'm always, or for the most part, consistent, persistent, positive, uplifting, encouraging, motivating, speaking about, the importance of discipline, faith, yoga, meditation, and breath work, and, cold water, and all these different things. And I believe in all those things as passionately as you hear me say it. And I think I've said that I do not want to come off as some self-righteous prick who has all the answers. I know what works. I know how to do it. And I'm going to teach you all. I hope that that's part of it. But there are still some days, man, where I'm really struggling. And I paint myself into a corner. I do it about once a month. It's very akin to the cyclic waves of thought that you were talking about, that you go through, you experience. Yeah. Maybe yours is faith-based, or, world, universal, with spirituality and faith and a belief in God. So while my faith is strong, the things that I speak about regularly that are the foundation of creating greatness, I stray from. I get less than grateful at times. Although and in those moments, the interesting thing is that I understand that my life is absolutely amazing. I mean, my kids, they love me. They tell me that all the time. My wife is literally gaga over me. She chases me around the house on her days off like a teenager, and it's, I have it all. I have it all in love and life. But it just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's like the people that you hear, celebrities and, mansions and millions of dollars, and they were in prison, trapped within their own head. And it's almost down to a science with me. I know exactly what I need to do. I know how to do it, and to keep me exactly where I need to be, in a space where I'm writing, creating, happy, joyous, just very unbothered, is something that I know I'm having a good day when I just feel totally unbothered by anyone's negative energy, by anything that's happening in the world. I'm just in this meditative, calm state of efficiency. That's my flow. And I'm able to do that. And I know how to do it. But the things that are necessary for me to maintain that state for extended periods of time, where, if you've heard me speak about on Creating Greatness podcast, I call it firing on all cylinders. When everything's going, everything's functioning, I'm killing the gym, I'm crushing it in the bedroom, I'm staying away from the voices and the bad habits, or the vices and the bad habits. And but to stay in that state for extended periods of time, it becomes very difficult for me. I'll start slipping with small things first, and it's usually diet. And I know when I'm eating these foods and drinking, once again, back to the plaguing vice of a person who has quit doing heroin and quit doing cocaine and quit watching pornography and all these hard things that I was able to completely eliminate from my life. It's the energy drink. I'm back to the damn energy drink. Because I get tired. I get frustrated that I'm tired. I have so much to do that I have to do. And this is my excuses talking, but I want to play it out because I'm praying that people will hear what I'm saying and sort of just put in their stuff, but can relate to this pain. I call it painting myself into a corner, because I know when I'm doing it. It starts slowly. I get tired. I get frustrated. I have this almost insurmountable list of things to do. Now I'm drinking energy. The thing that I know is severely detrimental to my stomach. It just hurts my stomach. As soon as I do it, an hour later, I have a stomach. Maybe I'm running around. I have a little bit of gas in the tank, but my stomach hurts, and I get, and then I'm dealing with that. And it's just like, okay, well, you did this to yourself. So once again, I'm painting myself into a corner. So then that triggers me to do maybe something else where I'm eating something. Now I got the sweet tooth going, and I'm eating food, desserts and the like, looking right at it and going, you're going to regret this. You're going to regret this. Do it anyway. So what happens after that is I'll wake up the next day. So it's like an alcoholic. I wake up the next day totally bombed. Totally bombed. Don't want to do nothing. Especially not the things that I know that could spin me out of this. And the worst part about it for me is, man, I get this nastiness about me internally, my spirit. It just, I hate everything. I hate everyone. Everything I look at. If I see TV or something with, even in outside, I hear the guy mowing his lawn. I guess this guy's mowing his lawn for the 5th time this week. I just go down this negative, nasty cycle of the mind. And then now I'm frustrated with myself on that level. So now I'm frustrated with myself, giving into my vices. I'm frustrated with myself now because I'm being so nasty. And I know it is extremely detrimental to myself, to my family, to the energy in my home, to the world. I'm not serving no good here. Now I may not have acted out or said anything to anyone that's negative or nasty, but it's still just happening. It's just happening within me. I hate everything. I hate that everything sucks. And then I'll get more frustrated with myself. Now we're like, let's say on day 2 of this painting myself into the corner. I'm back to the energy drink. I'm back to not eating healthy. And then I start the bargaining. Maybe this is a step that people can relate to. Bargaining with, I don't know, myself, with the world, with God. Well, I eat healthy 4 or 5 or sometimes 6 days out of the week. why can't I do this now, body? Why won't you accept this as my one thing? I don't do drugs. I don't drink. I don't do all the, I watch out for all these different toxins and poisons that are in common foods and waters that we drink. I mean, my water's purified through reverse osmosis, UV light filter. All my food is organic. I eat healthy majority of the time. I would say 75%. And that's real. Because I just have the 25% of falling off, and that's me painting myself into the corner that I'm talking about. But now I'm mad at myself or at the world or at God, maybe. I just don't know. I go, well, why can't I do this? To myself, this internal dialogue. Why can't I do this 1 or 2 days a week without having this total backlash and feeling like this? And then do other people feel like this? And now I'm in the competition, which is totally counterproductive. I see people at McDonald's all the time. I haven't ate McDonald's in 5 years. These people stopping at Starbucks and these people eating all these poisonous foods. I never do any of that. Body, world, God. Why can't I have my energy drinks and then eat a pint of ice cream at least once a week or maybe twice? And then I'll take it further. So now I'm laughing about it now. But I'm really frustrated within my mind and my body and my spirit. My energy's sapped because I'm having all this negativity. And I take it further. Well, the voice that I know is the right voice. Well, you fucking need to meditate. You need to pray. You need to do your yoga. You need to get outside. Boom, boom, boom. And I go, 95% of the time I listen to you, fuck off today, man. Yeah. I don't want to hear it. Get out of here.
Right.
I want to sulk and be angry. And I really get like that. And then I'll go, why do I have to meditate and do breath work and take cold showers and do all these things every stinking day of my life? Just to be okay, man. Just to be okay. Just to feel okay. And I'm not complaining. I am, but I'm just being true and honest as to what happens in my mind. And then I feel like a hypocrite because I'm on the podcast every day. I had 2 guys on yesterday, great guys, and both of them verbally told me how uplifting I was to them and how they were having a bad day, but my energy changed that for them. And I thought that to be kind of funny because I felt like shit. And I was having a bad day in my mind. And I was being very negative about myself and the world. And so, yes, I don't want to be a hypocrite. And I want to talk about my bad days. And I'm having one right now. And I had one yesterday. And I just think it's important to talk about. Me and this guy yesterday from Sad Times, his name is Kevin Crispin, talked about all the things that he felt like made him weird. And he puts them on display on his podcast to just let people know that they're not alone. And while their weird things may be different than his weird things, I just found a lot of value in what he was talking about. Although my initial judgments were absolutely wrong, as usual. The way the guy looked, the things that he talked about, anxiety, depression, all these words that they trigger something within me. And the guy was perfectly great, and we did a great show. And this is my similar story to anybody who feels like that sometimes. And just put in your own stuff. But I'm here with you, man. I'm here with you, and I'm fighting through it because I know that there's something better on the other side.
Well, man, you're really messed up, dude. I mean, I don't think anybody else has these problems. I'm up all the time. I don't know. I guess there's not really much to say. If I'd known this about you, I would never have been on the show. I'm just messing with you. Okay, a couple things I want to say about this was, first off, this is why I like you. It's why you're my best friends, because you can be like this. You can be honest about yourself. And then I'm drawn to people like that because honestly, I can't identify with people who I think who aren't aware of their own bullshit and their own problems, their own failings. It's hard to identify with them. Another observation is I have like 3 or 4 people. You're one of them. My sister Terry, my sister Kim, my wife, and you. When I'm feeling like this, when I'm feeling negative or I'm feeling a bunch of, I'm just feeling a bunch of different ways about stuff, I call these people or I talk to them and I just spew it on them. I just tell them all about it. And then we laugh. We laugh about it because they know that's the way things are. And I know it makes me feel so much better to unburden myself. So I guess I would say that you already know that about yourself. But anybody out there, I feel super bad for anybody who doesn't have someone to unburden themselves to or to talk about these kind of things, because it's too much to wear this facade, this armor all the time to pretend like you got it all together and you know everything. Man, that's just it's too much of a burden, I think, to bear. And I just would hope that anyone would have someone they could reveal themselves to and talk about their failings and their weaknesses. It's a real release. It's really cathartic. It changes you. It helps you to start this, what I call, it's not my term, but when you started talking about this, I started talking about something I was reading about and I heard on a couple different people mention. It was called the hedonic treadmill. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
All right. Okay, so hedonism. Hedonism is I guess, a philosophical way of saying that happiness is the highest good. That the highest goal in everyone's life should be happiness. Now you can play a lot of word games with this, right? And come at it different ways. But truthfully, like, the stereotypical form of hedonism is, well, we're all just having orgies and taking drugs all day long, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But we both know that isn't going to lead to happiness. That might be fun for a day or a week, maybe, but eventually that's not how we operate. That's not how humans are made. We're made to have things that are meaningful to us. We were made to be in relationship with other people. We're made to want to achieve goals and do things. That's just the way our system is set up. And so what I'm talking about is hedonism that's really mixed with prudence, which is prudence is choosing what is wise, the best for you to make you the happiest for the longest amount of time. So sure, it might be great today to not exercise, but I know if I never exercise, that ultimately that's not going to lead to my happiness, right? I may believe that I could be selfish right now, but ultimately I'm not going to have any friends or anybody to turn to if I'm always selfish, right? So hedonism, in a good sense, is doing things that are prudent to make your life the happiest it can be for the greatest amount of time, right? Because if we're not happy, what is the purpose of anything in my mind? Now, you could make an argument that, and in the past, I believed this about God, my relationship with God, or that my happiness wasn't God's concern. That even maybe I was going to be happy in heaven, but in earth, my only goal was to talk about Him, proselytize, and get rid of sin in my life, and happiness had nothing to do with it. Or you could take the Stoic tack, like Stoic philosophy. Basically, the virtues were the highest goods. So justice, wisdom. There was like 4 main virtues that they really the having the virtues was the highest good, not whether you were happy or not. But I've really embraced hedonism. I believe that it makes the most sense for everybody, but I believe that that's what I was talking about with Epicureanism. He believed in hedonism, but he believed that leading a life of simplicity, a life of friendship with close friends, a life of not pursuing like fame and fortune and all these fleeting things, but rather being prudent about the decisions you make, so you'll be the happiest for the longest amount of time. All right. Okay, so all that to be said, there's this thing called the hedonic treadmill, hedonism. It's like this idea that, so I grew up and we didn't have a lot of money, say, right? But then I got more money, and it was awesome for a little while, but eventually I didn't care. It didn't give me the same rush as when I wasn't poor, right? Or, like when I was in a band, where we started out in a basement and then we started playing out, and it was really exciting. But then I wanted to play out bigger venues, and I wanted to have more fans, and I wanted to have more success. So what was success at the time? A year before, I would have been like, this is amazing. But now I don't care about it anymore. It doesn't do it for me anymore, right? Or say you win a local election, you're a mayor. Well, now I want to be governor, right? Now I want to be president. Now it never ends. It's a treadmill. It just keeps going and going and going and going. You're scared. You got cancer, and you're terrified, and you're like, I'm gonna die. And then, oh no, look at for me. My kidneys are gone. They're shot. They're done. They're dead. And I was in the hospital. I was in a coma for 3 days. I was in a hospital for 2 weeks. And I didn't know for a little while whether I was going to live or not. I thought maybe I might die. I didn't know what my life was going to be like. Then I'm home and with my family. All I wanted to see was my home, my family, and my dogs again. I wanted to be home. I wanted to have a future. Now I got a future again. I'm home and I'm still crabby. Right?
Yeah.
So there's something about the human brain or the human condition that is continuously never satisfied with where you're at. I look at you and your life, and I think that you think a lot of these ways. You're like, well, I have this checklist of things that if I do them, I'm going to be happy. I'm going to be healthier. I'm going to be a better father. I'm going to be a better husband. I'm going to be a better person. And I'm going to be working my way towards doing what's going to make me successful. So here's my list of things, and I need to do them. And when you're doing them and you're doing this list of things, you feel great because you have achieved all these goals, all these minimal goals. I want to exercise today. Well, I exercised. Check. Choo choo. I feel great. I want to be nice and do some stuff with my kids and be a good husband today. What? Choo choo. Check that one off. I feel great. Right. But eventually, I want to live in a better place. I want to have more viewers. I want to care more about people. I want to do all that. And you feel good until you don't. And that's the hedonic treadmill, because your brain is never satisfied with just this being happy. And you don't just keep increasing forever and ever and ever, And I think a lot of the world religions have tried to address these things. A lot of people turn towards spiritual matters to address these things. Well, I'm going to reach a state of enlightenment, right? Where I no longer desire anything. Isn't that the Buddhist? Isn't desire the root of suffering, right? If I no longer desire anything, well, then I'll get off the hedonic treadmill. Doesn't matter whether I won't want nothing, so I'm not going to be on that treadmill anymore. I will be at peace, or I will reach a state of nirvana, or someday maybe I'll die and I'll go to heaven in a Christian sense, and I'll be with Jesus, and I won't want anything anymore. I'll be completely satisfied in my Lord's presence, right? Or I don't know. So I don't have any answer to I don't think the hedonic treadmill can actually you can get off it. I think that having friends to talk to it about, saying I fell off the fucking treadmill and I feel like shit and I'm mad about everything and I'm not grateful for nothing and I don't give a shit, Tony. And I'll be like, yeah, man, I felt like that the other day and I went and had 4 McDonald's cheeseburgers. Or I went to a place called Golden Corral the other day, and I can't eat any of this shit anymore. Like, it really fucks me up. I'll gain like 10 pounds of fluid in 3 days. Like, dialysis. Yeah, they got to suck all that fluid off me. I went to Golden Corral the other day, and I had 6 plates of food, dude.
Whoa.
One after the other. Man, I went around that thing, and because I had to have it. I just wanted it. Now, but I had friends, you got friends, you got people you can reveal yourself to, and they can say, you're still part of the tribe. I still love you. I still respect you. You're still human. That's part of the deal. And then now you hit rock bottom and you can get on the treadmill again. Oh, okay. Now, well, I'm going to start doing everything right. And if you can get 29 out of 30 days on the treadmill, dude, That's pretty good, honestly. I wouldn't
Yeah.
expect any better. I think that you're like at the top of your game. You're getting 95% happiness and 5% shitty. That's pretty good. Honestly, I think you should give yourself a break, honestly, about the other 5%. Now, if your brain worked like that, that'd be great, but it doesn't. Because you got to feel guilty about not eating right. You got to feel guilty about not exercising. You got to feel guilty about not being grateful. You got to feel some sense of shame. And it's all your inner standards anyways. It's your voice in your head saying, you should have done better, Rob. You're going to fall back into the pits of abyss if you don't do what's right and all this stuff. But honestly, if you're getting 90 out of 100% on this treadmill and you're feeling good most of the time, you're pretty good. It's, there's people out there don't get any of it. They're so messed up in their head. So one, you have friends to talk to, and you're honest with yourself and honest with other people, which is essential. Because if you're on this treadmill and you don't even admit that you're on it, that you're seeking happiness, that you don't even know what to do to make yourself happy, think about how far along in the game you are. There was a time in your life where you've said you didn't even know what you needed to do. Think about that. You're on the treadmill anyways. Everybody is. Everybody wants to be happy. So, but there's people out there that don't even know what to do to make themselves happy. They're doing all the wrong things. They're chasing drugs. They're chasing women. They're chasing money or success or fleeting relationships, and they're never making any progress, being happy for only a little while at a time because that's all they know. So you got friends you could tell. Two, you actually know what you need to do to stay on the treadmill longer and to be happier and be healthier. And you're honest with yourself, which is, there's people out there that aren't even aware that they're chasing happiness, that they don't even know that what to do or why they're doing it. And that's a bad state to be in. So I would say overall, in my opinion, which is worth 5 cents, and maybe you could buy a cup of coffee with it or something. I would say you're doing pretty good. And I would expect that you would be off the treadmill for 10% of the time. My life is much happier now than it's ever been in the past. I'm off that treadmill for less time, and I'm aware of the cycles. And like we talked about last week, I'm being more and more honest with who I am, instead of saying, well, trying to pretend that I don't have doubts or pretend that I'm somebody I'm not or trying to fit in. I'm like, fuck it. This is who I am, and I want to be the best person I could be, and I want to be as happy as I can be, but I want to be honest about who I am so I can just get rid of some of the self-hate and the guilt and the shame. But I think you're doing pretty good, honestly. I wouldn't believe you if you said you were always on the treadmill and always going up and never being unhappy. I think that's a part of the routine. And unless we reset, you have to be able to reset to start to go back up again. That's just the process, in my opinion. You have to go down to be able to go back up. It's never a continually happiness shot to nirvana. It's just not there. And I think that the longer the more you know about yourself, the more honest you are with yourself and other people, and the more you know the healthy things you need to do, the longer you're off the treadmill. I feel like you're running and then you fall and you hit your face on the treadmill and it throws you off the back. You're back on the ground. But you're only off for a little while and you're all, oh, I messed up. All right, back on the treadmill. That's just, I think that, me personally, I feel like this is completely natural. And I think you're a lot healthier than some people, unfortunately. Not even a comparison game, but like you're better than them. But rather, I feel bad for someone who doesn't know themselves, who doesn't even know what to do to be healthy, and who is not honest with anybody. They can't really tell anybody the truth. That person's in a really bad state, and some really bad things can happen to them. It's a really dangerous, precarious position. That's my opinion on that.
No, absolutely. I mean, I agree with just about everything that you said. One thing that I'll never do is fake it to my audience. If I feel an obligation to record episodes, to not reschedule, with my good friends because I'm not having an all the way up day. I'm going to do it, but I have to be, I have to be authentic and I have to be myself. And coming from these low points, I think it gives you that awareness to catch yourself and boost yourself back up. I mean, I guess one of the most frustrating parts is that I know I do it to myself. I mean, I know that it's a preventable and avoidable. And I guess that's why I'm so tough on myself about it. You see, when that treadmill that you speak of, it's in Buddhism, I think it's called the wheel of samsara, being stuck in that constant cycle of desire or, always wanting something bigger and better. And it's often I revert to it to give myself perspective. And all right, when I got incarcerated for like the fourth time and I was going upstate prison, I had already been to most of the prisons in New Jersey. So with me being a career criminal and understanding the process, I asked, please send me to a specific prison. Please send me to this prison to serve my time. I asked, please send me to this prison because I knew that they had accommodations that were beneficial to me in my mind state at the time. One was 23-hour lock-ins, so that meant only 1 hour of dealing with other inmates besides the person that I was living with, who was actually very difficult to live with. He was a really nice guy, but he was oh, that's a weird noise that this creature back there made. I never heard that one. I've been in Florida a long time. It sounds very, very, very curious. But he was an addict. So with me on my fourth run and being of a mind state that this is the last one, that's why I wanted to go to the 23-1 and not have to deal with all the nonsense and get caught up with the drugs and the gambling and the things that I normally got involved with while being incarcerated. So I knew it was 23-1. I'd be out there. I knew that they let you go outside for that hour. I also knew that they had a gym with weights, which very few prisons have anymore. I don't know about in America, but in New Jersey, they took them out of like 90% of the prisons. There was only two, I think Rahway and Bayside. I could be mistaken, but there was only two or three. They took them out of everyone else. So Bayside was a place that I knew that I could hit the weights. And so these accommodations to me, coming from a place called Craft, which is a central reassignment facility in New Jersey, it's an old insane asylum, and it looks like one. It is like straight out of a horror movie. When you walk into this place, they strip you all the stuff you see in the movie, strip you nude. There's female correctional officers, everything, and all right there. They make you put on this stuff, and they make you get in this cold shower. It's a thing, man. It's an interesting thing to go through in your life, and then on top of that, you get to the cell. It's overcrowded. There's roaches. There's actual mice. You'll see running around, and everything paint chipped off. It's metal clanging when they open the doors. They do it with an old crank, and it ain't nothing electric. Ain't nothing new. You eat real bad, it just go on and on and on. I don't go too far down the road. So when I got to Bayside, oh man, I was living the life. My bunkie had a TV. I had fan in the window. I had books because they crave if you have no book, you got nothing. You're just doing time, man. Doing push-ups and, you're clanking your cup on the bar. That's real. So I was living a life. I was outside for an hour a day. I could see sun. I got to go to the gym once or twice a week. The food was a little better. And I was in a place of gratitude to be there in Bayside State Prison in 2014, this is. Moving on. I get out. I live in this tiny bedroom by myself. And man, the bed was comfy. The food was good. The electric worked. The water was running. I didn't even have hot water. In my beginning of cold showers, I didn't even know it yet. I didn't care. I was smiling every day, brother. So then, me and my wife rekindle our relationship. We get a tiny little house. Once again, blessed beyond measure. This house is tiny. The yard's tiny, but I got a yard. The house is tiny, but I got a house. It's mine. Man, my gratitude just grows. During this time, okay, so I just got out. I'm still fresh out. Only a couple months. All this process happening. I got a job. I'm making $11 an hour. I'm thrilled about it. I'm base level, entry level employee at a warehouse. I'm meditating. I'm working out. I'm praying. I'm doing all the things that I talk about on Creating Greatness. I get promoted. A couple months later, I get promoted again. A couple months later, I get promoted again to salary, 401k, healthcare plan. Now me and my wife are moving out to a bigger house because she's doing the same thing. She graduated RN. Now she's making more money because she graduated. And now my life upgraded again. So now around this time, I start having this feeling in me, right? I start going, wow, I was hooked on heroin, man. I was in the alleyway, 2 years ago with the prostitutes, crackheads, and fucking hanging out, man. Like, and this is my life now. I'm the boss. I got an office, a coffee machine, and a nice laptop computer. And, I could shut the door. I don't even have to really go do work. I could just tell somebody what they need to be doing. I didn't do that. I was always out there putting in work with the team. That's why I was so good at my job. And that's real shit. I was good at my job. I'm good at this job, podcasting too. So if you like what you hear, share with a friend, man. Share with a friend. That's all I'm ever going to ask you guys to do. But I started getting this feeling. Like I said, a year ago, I was in a prison cell in Bayside State Prison. And now I'm in my own office with my name on it, at the computer, handing out orders. I started to get this feeling in me. Man, you remember that feeling you had back in the day before the world made you feel like shit about yourself? You thought you were destined for greatness? So guess what, dude? You are. Look at this, man. Look at what you've done. I tripled my income, dude, in 3 years. So I really started to have this grand vision of life and what it could be like if it continued along this trajectory. Now I'm in the world. Now I'm an entrepreneur. I have a small business. I run a podcast. I've been working at it for almost 4 years obsessively. Seen huge growth. And once again, excuse me. A year ago, what I'm looking at now with my numbers, I would have been like blowing my mind. A year ago, I'd have went, whoa, that many people are listening to each episode and this many people are listening within a week. Now I look at it and I go, ah. And then as an entrepreneur, it's a very difficult thing because in a job, in my opinion, all you have to do is make shit happen. That was at my job. My joking around with my crew was we're the get shit done crew because they always come to us because they know we're going to get it done. We're going to get it done right. And we're going to get it done fast. They know that about Robert. In the world, so in a job, you have a structure and all you got to do is go down to the floor and make something happen. Save them money. Find ways to save them guys money. Make something happen. Make your team look good. Make the company look good. And you're gonna see progress in that structure. That's all you have to do. And you have to play the game. And that just goes along with saying the right thing at the right time, being in the right spot at the right time, managing your emotions, being able to effectively maneuver through the corporate company politics, because there always is that. So there's a game to it, which almost makes it fun, in my opinion, especially if you are in a position where, like me, I always had 30-day salary. If they pissed me off, I would just quit. And that's another powerful thing is like in a job, in a career, if they know you're not held there, you're not locked in, you're not going to be homeless, Like, dude, I'm good. And if y'all step over the line, then I'm just going to go. If they know they got you trapped, they're going to treat you a certain way. But if you're ready to walk, they treat you a little bit differently. But in the world, you don't have that structure. If you quit, you just quit on yourself. And to go into a corporation, even a big corporation, and make some waves, I wouldn't say it's easy, but it's doable thing. To do it in the world, who are you making waves to? Where's the structure? When you make something happen, who is there to notice? You're only saving yourself money, not anyone else. If you figure out this grand idea to make your business or your operation run more effectively and efficiently. So I'm at that stall point in my life where, like, in 3 years, I could triple my income here. In 3 years here, what have I really accomplished? So, yes, it's a list of things. And yes, I feel good when I do them. And I feel like I know if I check those boxes that eventually I will have to become successful. It's almost impossible not to. You can't not make something happen if you consistently, obsessively work towards it relentlessly and you check every box every day. So if I'm checking the box 25 days a month, and for someone to say, oh, well, 5-6 days a month, you're still doing pretty good, I believe you. But then I go, me being a production manager and understanding if I shave seconds off a process, it saves a company millions of dollars at the end of the year. I go, well, 6 days a month, that's 72 days a year. And now you're talking about a month and some change where you literally had zero productivity. And you are denying the gift of God. I go back to my faith here. You're denying the gift of God those days. You're saying by choice, by free will, and we're back to that, fuck life, fuck the gift of life that I was given today. I'm going to decide to sit and throw a pity party for myself and eat bullshit and drink fucking energy drinks and not do anything that I need to do other than taking care of my family. There's certain non-negotiables that will always happen no matter what. And that's the difference as well. Because now me feeling this way is one thing, but because I have 3 children that love me, that depend on me, that look up to me, and a wife that really looks at me like I am the king of this household, even though I work from home and, all these different things that we talked about on not our last episode, but a few episodes ago, men that don't work. That's my perspective on it. It's not like, oh, well, okay, it's fine. It's like, no, that's 72 days a year that you just said, fuck it. Deny the gift of life, deny God, and turn your back on it. And I believe that I'm using free will to do it. And then once again, I'm back to, why can't you be stronger? Why can't you be better? Because despite all the things that you said that are true and are valid, and I believe we need to give ourselves grace, it's just I'm only going to allow myself a certain amount of grace because fuck that, man. I know I could do better. And that's just how I feel about it.
Well, I agree. I'm sure you could do better. And I think it's a matter of I worked for last time I had a regular job. Well, I worked at a pizza place, but before that in Elmira, I used to work at a machine shop. I was CNC machine operator. I ran a mill and a lathe. And if you're looking at production, right? So many days a month that machine's going to run, so many hours a day, right? Making the company money. But if you don't put that machine down for maintenance, it will break permanently and it will be out for a long time. You'll have to get a new machine or it'll be down for longer periods of time. So you have to schedule in maintenance for that machine. So even though that machine could run for the extra day a month, if you didn't do the maintenance on it, now it's going to be out a week for next week, right? Okay, so I believe that the way I picture the hedonic treadmill is our body goes, and we're purpose driven and we're goal oriented, but at some point, our brain switches off and we reset the treadmill because we can't continue the forward momentum continuously without ever taking a break and resetting because your motivation to achieve is not there. So it's more rather how you treat the time you have off the treadmill when you reset rather than trying to pretend like you can't reset, like you're not going to reset. If you have this idea that you're going to go 24 hours a day, 30 days a week, and you're never going to reset, you're continuously achieve more and more and more, I think that is, I don't believe it's possible. But at the same time, I think that, we could be semantic, we could be playing with words here, but I believe that, I think if you don't reset purposely and give yourself a chance to start to reevaluate what you're doing and remotivate, that you're going to reset automatically no matter what. And I think it's how you handle the reset times. So, this is an interesting difference between me and you. And, as we've gotten to know each other, this is the way I view the way me and you look at things differently. There's a million things we look at the same. So that's easy to talk about. But one of the things that's interesting is I'm looking at my life and I'm looking at how can I maximize my happiness, right? How can I manage my time on the treadmill? And what I've done is to say, well, instead of trying to achieve more things and have more things and add to my life, even good things, I want to try to say, well, what if I maximize my happiness and my pleasure in what I already have and concentrate on minimalizing and simplicity and saying, well, let me really think about this. Where am I? Look at the things I have right now that I'm so happy with instead of adding on good things. Now, I'm not comparing that one is better than the other. But the way I look at the way you're looking at life, you find a lot of happiness in achieving goals that, I want to be here tomorrow. I want to be here in a week. I want to be here in a month. These are all good things. And I'm not saying that you're doing things that are going to sacrifice your values because I think you have a very strong grasp of what's important in life and what you can't violate. You would never seek money or fame or fortune if it comes at the cost of your health of your children and your wife. I know that, right? So I'm not suggesting you would ever do that. I'm saying that we're both healthy, but we both have different goals. My goal now is to say, I want to be happy with what I have because what I have right now, I would have been overwhelmed with gratitude a year ago. Do you see what I'm saying? So I want to say, I want to enjoy it. And I think that the key to my happiness is being grateful for what I already have and consolidating the happiness and really enjoying what I already exist in and simplifying my life even more. I've been on that a long time. Whereas your goal seems to be, this is where I want to be, and these are the steps I got to take to get there. But I don't think you could be happy not doing that. I think it's a matter of personality type. It's a matter of experience. It's a matter of where we both came from. And I think that even though me and you share a lot of values, I think that we both look at things differently. A good common example is I like coming up with ideas, but I don't necessarily have excitement in implementing the ideas, right? I don't. It's not my goal. It's just not fun for me. But I like thinking about ideas. And I think the best person to hand these ideas off is to you because, maybe you're a younger man. I think you got more motivation to achieve things than I did maybe 10, 15 years ago. 10, 15 years ago, I was obsessed with starting my own business. I quit my job. I was a manager for 14 years at a pizza place. And I mean, it'd be weird, but I was a very successful manager. I was really good at my job. I was obsessive about it. I didn't miss anything. I was known for my how honorable I was and how careful I was to do what the owners wanted me to do. I was professional. But I wanted to have my own business. I wanted to achieve that. So I quit my job, and it really threw my life into a tailspin. I didn't have any money. I threw it all on the line because I was obsessed with wanting to achieve this dream of starting a business. My wife was in a nursing school at the time, and she had to quit because we had to do it together. And she was really mad at me for that because I didn't want to wait. I just borrowed some money for some friends. I didn't have any savings. I screwed myself. We ended up being bankrupt over the whole. It was pretty bad, but I only lasted a year. So in some respects, I wasn't successful, but I ran that business for a year. I created a good product. I fed all these people. I learned so much about it, and I'm so glad I did it. But I would never have the desire to do anything like that right now. I just couldn't do it. Even before that, I was obsessed with achieving success as a musician. I practiced nonstop. I did everything I could possibly did. I put thousands of dollars into music. I went and played for $50 a night everywhere I could play. We practiced every spare time. I had a family of 3 kids and a wife, and I worked, and I did church ministry, and I did my band. I was obsessed. I would never, at this point in my life, I would never push myself in that direction. But I see in you still this motivation and this hunger and this thirst to achieve certain things. And I'm just not on that path anymore. Now, I'm not saying that I'm never going to be, right? And I'm not going to say that I don't like to achieve things. I have different goals in that area. I think our values are very similar, but our goals are different at this point in our lives. I don't even know. What are you are you 40?
45.
All
I
right.
just turned 45.
And I'm 51, so there's not a huge age difference there. But yeah, I think I burned myself out as far as motivation to achieve things, and I've kind of been on a different tack for a long time. I think that was part of my spiritual journey too, because I was always obsessed with this idea. My relationship with God could be everything, and I didn't have to achieve anything in life, but rather than my relationship with Christ. And I was obsessed with that. And I was always struggling on that too, because my flesh, part of as a man, I wanted to achieve all these things. But then I looked at the scriptures and I said to myself, does God really care if, and I wrestled with that. So I guess I think it's interesting, I think that's 2 different ways to look at life and goals. And I would think you probably think, Tony, I think you should be achieving things, maybe. But I'm definitely not setting up that my way of linking at life is better than yours. I just think we both look at different. We have different motivations, same virtues, same goals, similar, but our same ideas about what's virtuous and what's important. But I think I just kind of focus in a different area, because every time I come up with an idea, I'm like, Rob, you should do this, man. You're like, no, Tony, you should do it because you had this idea. Why don't you want to do this? And I'm like, maybe Rob's right. Why don't I want to do this? And I'm like, I don't really want to do it. I just don't have, that's not where I'm going on that. And I think that's interesting. So do you feel that, so my analogy about resetting yourself, I think that's kind of what I was talking about is I think how long you reset yourself for and how healthy you are while you're resetting, you're on the treadmill, I think is important. And I think that if you put that into your consideration about your cycle, that you'll be more prepared for when you do have that downtime, when you're not continuously moving upwards, but you're in a reset mode. I think that you can say, well, maybe I'm resetting. How can I do this in a productive way without feeling guilty, without feeling shame, without feeling like I've let myself down? I don't think it's possible not to reset. I think it's possible to have a quick turnaround and to do it in a healthier way. Does that make sense?
No, absolutely. I mean, I'm going to end with this, and it's just why having a friend and having this podcast is so immensely important to me, and it absolutely means the world to me. Being able to talk to you, being able to talk to my audience and have the people there that are listening and just listening to our conversations, because what I really enjoy is that we're not ever really standing on solid ground.
Yeah.
And sometimes in the world today, you hear people, you need to do this or you need to do that, or, this is the right way and this is the wrong way. And I think that every time we have a conversation, I don't really even know where we landed or what was right or what was wrong.
Yeah.
And I think there's a beauty in that. And I
Me
think
too.
there's a beauty in that. And, these conversations, they mean a lot to me and a lot of people. And I think it's a way that we can express ourselves in a healthy way, but also talking things out. You begin to understand why you feel the way you feel. It's like thinking out loud and then having someone to bounce it off of. Sometimes you come to conclusions about it either through your own speech, that you're processing your thoughts and you're putting it out there into the world. That's why journaling is so great for some people. For me, it's talking, but then getting the feedback from someone that you respect. I have come to some conclusions about it, and I'll conclude the show with them. The resetting. First of all, I think I feel the way that I feel, and I'm so success driven because I feel like I've had a lot of wasted time. From the age 19 to 35, I spent roughly 10 years of my life in prison, although it wasn't consecutive. It was broken up, but almost a decade. So I always feel behind. I always felt behind. When I would get out, I would see my friends and families or my friends and people I went to school with, people my own age, and they would have kids and jobs and houses and cars. And I know social media is a lie, but they would look so happy to me. And I would go, what I didn't see, and what I tell people when they see me where I'm at from my past, I go, you seen that picture. You didn't see the in-between, the blood, the sweat, the tears, the work, and I always felt behind because of that. My first, my first son, I didn't have it in my late 30s, and here we are with 3 more. And so it ain't like I was catching up in that respect, but in a professional world, me wanting to be somebody in the world, I was always playing catch up. And I think that's what gives me that internal clock, or it gives me that feeling of pressure, although the pressure is purely placed upon me by myself.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest here, I would feel like a piece of crap, but my wife would be perfectly happy if I just homeschooled our kids, cleaned up the house, played Mr. Mom all day. I mean, I don't think she would think it in a disrespectful way. I would start to feel disrespected because I'm not pursuing my own self and my own goals and being someone in the world. I tell her sometimes when I'm expressing my frustration, you go out into the world all day and you're somebody, you're a nurse, you're helping people. And although I'm sure you get frustrated and I know it gets stressful, that means something, whether you know it or not, and you might not know until you walked away. Me being a leader in my company, I was a manager, I was a boss, but I was also a mentor to those people. I got to talk to them face to face every day and then help them and see how their lives were going. And I made a positive impact on them people, and some of them still reach out to me to this day. So between the time that I feel like I was wasted and then my macho pride, I guess, of like, well, I'm not just going to be Mr. Mom homeschooling the kids and doing, I manage my house very effectively. I use Lean Six Sigma's ideology, stuff that I learned in work. And I mean, it's a job. It's a full-time job, dude. But that's not enough for me. That's not enough for me to feel good about myself. And I know that may be wrong. I mean, my wife would say, you're a great husband. You're a great father. You take care of the house. You do everything that needs doing. What else do you want? And I would say to her, like I'm going to say to you guys, and I don't know how this sounds. It may sound egotistical. It may sound bad. But once again, I'm not going to be a hypocrite. I'm going to be here being me, who I am. I would say, honey, I want to be somebody. You go out, you help all these people at work and your patients. And, you take on all the responsibilities, teaching new nurses, and people look up to you and they respect you. It's like, I want that. And I feel bad for wanting it. It's like being at war with yourself, man. And I'm going to stop it because we could really start the next conversation about that and how it's very difficult to have 2 completely different aspects of yourself and agree with one so much. And then the other one, but then on certain subjects you go, okay, well, no, this guy's right this time. But let's not. The wasted time, the reset, I think that was a conclusion that I came to, besides all that other stuff I said. It was the reset. I'm not doing it in a healthy way. I do understand that I need to reset, and I do have these days planned, and I don't feel bad about it when I plan a day to rest, reset, and rejuvenate. Here goes the problem. I don't do it in a healthy way.
Yeah.
I don't do any of the things that I should do because I'm taking a break. So now I am getting up and I'm not really have a direction. I don't really have a purpose. Today's my relaxed day. Pretty soon that relaxation turns into boredom. And then, boredom is a very, very dangerous place to be. And then it turns to eating something I shouldn't eat, doing something I shouldn't do, watching something I shouldn't watch. And now the whole thing is spiraling in that type of way. So yes, I have to learn a better way to rest, reset, and rejuvenate in a healthy way. Doing the things that I need to do to put myself in the best position to be that guy that I want to be on those days without putting in all that work that way I'm still tired, but also not just making unhealthy choices throughout the day, so much so that I put myself in a spot where, okay, now here goes my day or two that I've planned to do that rest and rejuvenation. Now it's time to go back to work, and I'm just flat out dead because I spent the reset time just totally overindulging, and now I'm having some hangovers, not from alcohol, but you understand what I'm saying.
Sure.
And then I don't disagree with you. I mean, I do think that there are things that you could be doing, and I would move into the realm of things that I think you should be doing. I think that you have a tremendous amount of talent, and you have an ability to look at things in different ways than people, and I think it's a perspective that would be beneficial to some folks, and it's why I continually have you on, because I think you have something very valuable to provide to the world, and I think that you'd be doing a disservice to the world if you didn't pursue something on your own and not just kick ideas to me, whether it be writing, podcasting, going back into your music, speaking. I know, you're a great speaker. But at the same time, as I do feel that way, and that's just me being honest with you, I feel like there's a better balance between where you're at and where I'm at. And I'm praying the people out there can find that common ground, man.
Amen.
I love y'all. I appreciate y'all so much for listening in. Peace.